Hi, my name's Ben, and in this video I start work on a real-time strategy game about rival ant colonies which are making the Unity game engine. So after doing some brief planning for some of the more important systems in the game, I started work on the player movement. This was very basic. The player can move forward or backwards and can rotate clockwise or anti-clockwise. I also added animations for the ant the player was controlling. I then made soldier ants and aimed to implement some kind of swarm movement system to help the movement of large numbers of ants seem more natural. You don't want the ants all following exactly the same path to their target. The way this works is if an ant gets too close to another ant, they'll move away randomly, creating a temporary target to move towards, ensuring they remain spaced out. It's not perfect because the ants may still randomly bump into one another, but it works for now. I then implemented combat, so when enemy ants are detected in sight range, the ant can move towards it, and when the enemy can be attacked, the health of the enemy will be reduced, depending on the attack damage. I made the colour of the health bar reflect the team the ant belongs to. It seemed a smart way to represent both the team and health for each ant, while not taking up too much of the screen. At this point, I decided to have some fun, and made 10 ants from each team battle it out. Place your bets on which team will win. Next, I actually worked on the game start screen, which will allow you to define the settings of the game, including the number of enemies present. In the future, I plan to create different difficulty levels for enemies, but at the moment, all the difficulty levels are the same. Each colony will start in a different nest and will have a queen. If the queen dies, new ants can no longer be created and the colony loses. Currently, there are two main types of ants: soldiers, which have more health and attack damage, and workers, which are cheaper and slightly faster. The player-controlled ant is slightly different. It's faster than all other ants, and is slightly better in combat than worker ants. When creating the worker ants, I did run into a bug where the ants would be able to attack across the map. This happened when there are no enemies in sight range, and once I figured that out, was an easy fix. To control ants from the same colony, the player is able to release chemicals, or pheromones, to give commands to nearby friendly ants. These commands include following the player, retreating to the nest, attacking ants, and gathering food. At this point, I wanted to start improving the graphics of the game, so I added more objects to the environment, including sticks, stones, and leaves. I also wanted to make the ground more interesting, so I tested 3 different approaches to making green ground tiles. I prefer the third attempt, so I made 4 tiles using this style to help add some variation. I used the random brush for painting tiles in Unity. This would randomise which of the 4 tiles were painted in each space. I'm glad I found it, as I was seriously considering manually painting each tile randomly. I'm quite a beginner at pixel art, but I've already learnt a few things, including the fact that you should always try and keep the style consistent, and when shading, the darker areas should be the areas which are reflecting less light. It seems obvious, but it's sometimes easy to just add pillow shading on the edges of the object, rather than shading where it would actually be darker. I actually made this mistake myself when I was making the leaf, but I did fix this. In the future, I plan to make a fully working prototype. Some things are not yet finished and there is currently no win or lose screen. After that, I plan to make new maps and add more variety to the environment, as well as adding more ant species you can choose from, which may have different strengths and weaknesses. Later on down the line, I plan to implement multiplayer, but this could be quite a big task. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.